So, all right. So, welcome to Long Island Nightlight LINL Radio's interview with Trey from Sin Seer. Am I pronouncing that correctly? Sin
That's
Seer.
correct. Yes, sir. That's correct.
So, just for everyone out there, Sin S-I-N, and then two words, Seer S-E-E-R. I was checking out you guys' link tree. So, if anybody's watching this interview, I'm speaking to the audience right now. You have no excuse not to find these guys because they're everywhere, right?
Indeed.
Yeah, Facebook and YouTube and Spotify and on and on and on. So all you got to do is plug in Sin Seer, and you'll be able to find these guys' music here. So, but thank you, Trey, for taking the time to speak with us.
Of course, man. Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
No problem. And I have been enjoying the two songs that you guys have sent. I got my notes here. Arrival is one, and Departure. Is that correct?
Departure.
Doppelganger. Departure is the title of the EP, correct?
Correct. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So I've been enjoying your music. I appreciate the contributions. I think I read correctly that you guys have been together for almost 10 years. Is that correct?
In a sense, yeah. So we've been writing music together for actually next year will have been the 10-year mark since we've written our first song. However, we didn't officially release anything under like our name until probably 2018. So there's a little bit of a gap there, but I think in those first 3 years, it was really just us sort of trying to find our footing and sort of deciding what kind of sound we were trying to go with. So in the beginning, we were really experimenting with a lot of different stuff. So I think we have maybe 5 or 6 demos from that time period. It's only on SoundCloud at this point. It's on my personal account, but yeah, we're not that proud of them. So we're not really, advertising them. But if anyone ever wanted to go back and check out some of the older material, it's up there. But yeah, it was really just sort of like the stepping stone we were laying the groundwork for what was to come. So yeah, but yeah, dude, it's already going to be 10 years. It's pretty crazy.
What's the secret of sticking together and continuing to write together?
Oh man, let's band members. I think that kind of helps. One of the things I struggled with when I moved over here to San Marcos was I wanted to find my own band. I wanted to start a band, and I wanted to sort of create this, different type of music. And everyone I came across, and I mean, I did meet a lot of different musicians, and it just kind of seemed like none of them were on the same wavelength as I was, or they kind of just, sort of wanted to just jam. And I kind of wanted to take it a little more seriously than that. So I kind of got to the point where I was just sort of like fed up with like, okay, well, especially in this day and age, the way we're able to produce music, you don't really need someone. If you have a certain vision, you can just go ahead and go forth with it. So that was honestly kind of that was my ideal, and my ideal setup in the beginning. And Cameron kind of just sort of came along, like in the midst of all that. So back in July of 2015, he just, he would always send me demos, and just this one particular day, this one that he sent me. Just kind of like something just came right off the dome with it. And within 30 minutes, I had a song completely laid out and written. And from there, man, it kind of just snowballed into what it was. So I couldn't honestly tell you what it is. I mean, to me, it's you kind of have to be on the same wavelength. And I know sometimes, people want different things. Some people want to aspire to be much bigger and others are just kind of happy where they're at. And I think for us, we were content with, let's see where it goes. And I think because we both sort of had that mindset, I think neither one of us had any, expectations. And I think because of that, no one was really disappointed. And we've done everything right down the middle, 50-50. So everything you hear is completely signed off by both of us. If one of us isn't feeling it or one of us isn't satisfied with it, we don't put it out. So I think that partnership is just that tightness is kind of what has led to, I guess you could say, our longevity, if you will.
Cool. Yeah, that's awesome. Now, just for our audience, whereabouts are you guys from? I know it's like, is it the Austin, Texas area? Is that correct?
Yeah. So technically, neither of us live in Austin, Texas. He lives a little bit on the outskirts of Austin. I live over here in San Marcos, which is about 35 miles. So there's like two little counties in between Austin and San Marcos. But The recording studio in Austin is where I've been the last, honestly, for like the last year now. So I've been making, we still consider Austin, Texas our home, because that was where the foundation was led. But when we first started getting together to write songs, it was always at Cameron's place, or anytime we got together, it was in Austin to sort of, do filming or to do, photos or whatever have you. So yeah, Austin's always been the central base of where we're at. So I feel like because of that, we'll just, we'll keep it as is.
You're the second interview that I'm doing for the radio station, and you're the first from out of the area. The first guy I interviewed is from Long Island as well.
Nice.
Yeah, so you have that distinction already.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now I like to, because I'm a songwriter myself, I like to ask about writing process, and I know that not everybody wants to give away the secret sauce, but you started talking, a little bit about it. Does Cameron write the music and you write the lyrics? Like, how does that all work? I mean, as much as you want to say about it.
Oh yeah, man. We have no secrets. I mean, I think when you're kind of when you're a studio group, I mean, there's really only so much you can, there's only really so much you can hide, I guess. But no, we're very transparent. Cameron writes all of the music, and the thing about it too is that the way our process is, man, is a little twisted, but it's the only process that has worked for us. So even before Sin Seer got together, me and Cameron have been friends since high school. So he moved to Austin sooner than I moved over here to San Marcos, but whenever we did finally get together, we would always get together to jam. We would always get together to try and just put together some kind of song, because I loved what he did. He loved what I did. But for whatever reason, we just could never seem to make things stick. When we were in the same room together, we could have, whatever software program, drum machine, whatever have you. We could have amps set up. We could have everything we possibly need. And for whatever reason, I mean, we would come up with some cool stuff. Don't get me wrong. We'd come up with some great riffs and whatnot. But at the end of the day, we didn't have anything. We didn't have a song or anything. And it wasn't until Cameron started writing these whole pieces of music and then just sort of sending it to me as is, not really with my consideration. I mean, well, obviously once he's finished it to a certain extent, then he'll ask me my opinion. I'll give him my ideas if there's any and stuff like that, or if he's stumped. But for the most part, everything he sends me is complete as is. So it's kind of my role to sort of give this thing meaning, whether it's, some kind of concept, or if it's just me sort of just ranting about whatever, it is at the moment. But the way I write lyrics, man, is, I mean, again, everyone's got a different process, right? But for me, with this group, I learned that I kind of have to just sort of absorb the music as is, and then it just kind of not necessarily comes to me, but I feel like I have a better idea of what it is I'm trying to say. So say if the song is a little bit like, take Doppelganger, for instance. Doppelganger 3 was a little bit of a darker song. There was a lot of creepy undertones with it. So the vibe of it kind of had to match, what I was saying kind of had to match the vibe of what was going on. So I really just listen until something sort of pops out at me, whether it's a certain phrase or whether it's just a certain feeling that I'm having while I'm listening to the song. So it really varies, man. And it can be one of those things where I write something down, I like it, and then maybe like the next day I look it over and I'm like, what the hell was I thinking? And I'll completely start over, man. And we have never had a problem sitting on songs. In fact, a lot of the songs that are going to be on this debut album, we've kind of had in the chamber for about 3 or 4 years now. So it's never been anything like, we got to get this out. It's, it's crucial that people hear this now and soon. It's like, no, like when it's ready, it will be ready. So I have no problem rewriting songs, going back to the drawing board. Cameron's even re-recorded a few of them because he wasn't pleased with the tone of it. So, I mean, it varies, man. Just like any other band, any other songwriting process, it varies. But for us, this a little unorthodox is sort of the reason why we've been able to sustain, the catalog that we created. So like, it's crazy, but I mean, if it's not broke, don't fix it. So.
All right. No, I'm always interested in the different ways songwriters go about, whether it's writing, together with other group members or, solo or whatever, I'm just always interested in the writing process. So, Getting back to Doppelganger 3, correct? Is the title of the song? I
Yes.
was I was listening to it earlier, and it seems like it kind of crosses genres a little bit. Like they're kind of the varied beats, and you have like a double time vocal part, I think, in there, like during the verse. And it makes me wonder what your influences are, like what you listen to, and where, like what musicians or bands you draw inspiration from, or whatever. Because it's not like a garden variety metal song. It's got groove to it, and it's got feel to it, and everything. So I'm just curious what you guys' influences might be.
Well, first off, thank you. I really, that's an amazing compliment. Thank you for that. I think our influences are very, not necessarily opposite, but I think the fact that we have a bit of a clash of styles is sort of what makes that unique blend. For me, I grew up listening to a lot of the new metal movement or whatever. So of course, Korn is still my absolute favorite band in the whole world. One of the things that always gravitated me towards Jonathan Davis was that he had such a keen sense of cadence, the way he could speed something up or he could slow something down, and it wasn't even like he was necessarily in. He was perfectly in sync with the music, but not even necessarily in the time. If that makes sense. Kind of like if you were the best example I can give is like if you listen to a lot of the Korn songs as an instrumentals and you try to sing along to it, that melody is very hard to replicate because he's not necessarily a singer that hums along with the beat. He can on occasion, but he kind of goes off on his own little thing. So that's kind of what inspired a lot of those different variants that I do in music. So like I guess my disadvantage is that I'm a little too self-aware. So like when I notice that I'm doing something very repetitively, constantly, I always try to sort of change it up, maybe in like this last little section or little nuances like that. So, but other musicians like Chad Gray, Corey Taylor, of course, these guys were very rhythmic with the way that they could, whenever they could speed something up, they could do it in a flow that was very it was just very groove like, like it's, I mean, it just sounds like bubbling words, but it really, when you lay it all out, it's like it's like a complex sentence. And it's the complexity there to do that, man. It's, I don't know, it's a challenge, but it's also something that I really, really enjoy doing. So I think that's kind of just naturally what I gravitated towards. Um, Especially because I'm not necessarily of a melody kind of person. Not to say that I don't try, but that was always just something that came more naturally to me. I think some of the more difficult or the more rapid vocal patterns that were kind of harder for other people to grasp, I was able to latch on to, while as a lot of the other simplistic melody stuff that a lot of people can do very well, I sometimes gives me the hardest trouble. But Doppelganger was actually a perfect example of that because it kind of pushed me on both ends of that. The chorus parts were very difficult for me to sort of to nail just right and to get it down solid. So that there was a lot of issues with that, but overall, man, I'm proud of the way that one came about. And I think, yeah, like you said, that one kind of just shows the capabilities of what we have. So
Yeah, it's interesting. Like I said, it's not garden variety metal. Like, I could tell that there's a variety of influences in there. The song Arrival, a lot of dynamics. Starts soft, builds up, gets real loud.
hmm
So I'm just trying to lay it out there too for the audience as far
yeah,
as what they'll get, if and when, and hopefully when they listen,
oh yeah, yeah,
check out your music and listen to it.
oh yeah.
Um, so let's see. What are you guys up to, like right now? Like, are you taking a break from something? Are you working on something currently? Do you have a release coming up?
We're currently in the studio right now, finishing up this debut album. This is the first and probably only record that we're going to do. And I think, again, going back to the 10-year mark, I think that kind of had a lot to do with it. When we first started, the idea, especially because this day and age, albums don't really have the same perception that they used to have, unfortunately. So in order to really reach new new audiences, you kind of have to, you know, just do like these little bite-sized forms of content. And, you know, that usually means just a single or just a couple of songs to an EP. So that was kind of the format that we went by for a long time. But me being, you know, I'm an old school kid, man. Like I grew up going to the record store, and, you know, record store day, the earlier, you know, like I couldn't fucking wait, man. I'm sorry. I don't know. I'm supposed to
No, it's all good.
Okay. Hey, dude, I just open up the case, absorb the artwork, and just be engulfed in all of it. I loved it. So there was part of me that always wanted to do that, but I also felt like it's a whole. I mean, to do an album right and to do it, you know, legitimately, it takes a lot. You know, a lot of time, a lot of effort, a lot of money, and a lot of, you know, a lot of shit eating, unfortunately. And it wasn't that I didn't think we could do it. I just felt like we weren't, at certain points, weren't ready. And I think that when we started doing this EP, which eventually became this album, it kind of got to that point where I was like, man, we've done this for so long now. We have a very solid idea of who we are, what we like, what we don't like, and where we want to go. Now would be the best time to do an album if we're going to do an album. So that was kind of my mindset behind it. And I kind of just sort of pitch ideas to Cameron. That's kind of how a lot of these things happen. If I have an idea for a video, if I have an idea for whatever have you, I kind of have to run it by him. And if he likes it, we kind of go with it. So, you know, obviously he, you know, he was a little reluctant at first. He was like, I don't know, like how many songs, blah, blah, blah. So kind of had to talk him into it. But yeah, man, that has been the main focus. Other than my family, this is the only thing I think about, man. Like literally every day. This album has been on my mind now for like the last 2.5 years. It's been like a crazy obsession, almost to the point now where I'm worried like what it's going to be like once it's finally done, you know. And we have to move from that. But yeah, man, that's been the main focus, is just getting these songs out. Like I said, a lot of them we've been sitting on them for a while, but it's also songs that we are the most confident in, and it's also the songs I feel like have really, you know, and this is cliche to say because a lot of bands say it, but I really do feel like we've really came into our own. We've really grown, and we have a certainty now with what we're doing. So I think because of that, we're really excited to share this with people whenever it's ready.
Are you far enough along in the process to anticipate like a general idea when it's going to be released? Or
yeah, absolutely. We only have actually one song left, and I think maybe we have like maybe 2 or 3 more sessions to follow. I can see it easily being out by September, October. That if I was a betting man, probably October is most likely. But yeah, it'll definitely be out in the fall for sure. We don't want to sit on it too long, so we want to get this out as soon as we can. So it will absolutely be out before the end of the year. I can make that promise for sure. Yeah, that's awesome.
Maybe, and you could run it by Cameron too. Maybe you guys will consider doing like an album listening party on Long Island Nightlight. You know, just out there. If you you send me the tracks, we'll promote it or whatever, and you know, try and get a bunch of people listening. You know, all at the same time. That
would be amazing, man. Thank you. Yeah, that would be great. Yeah, I'll talk with him.
Yeah, think about that. You know, I would definitely be up to it. You know, anytime you guys have music that you want to send, I would welcome it. So, because I really do. I try not to program the station based on my own taste, but I genuinely enjoy your music. So
really appreciate that, man, and especially too because I feel like you want to help out a lot more of the local scene, which is awesome. So like the fact that you actually like took a liking to us, you know, we're just some dudes from Texas and shit. So like the fact that you actually really dug us, that really means a lot, man. So thank you.
Yeah. No, it does. The music stands out from what I've heard anyway. So.
Oh yeah, thank you.
Just now, you personally, what got you interested in music? How long ago, and what was it that made you decide like I want to do this? You know.
Well, music has been, you know, part of my life since I was a child. My parents loved music. They were big music lovers. My dad, you know, was an old school rock and roll dude, you know, AC/DC, Def Leppard, you know, all those bands. Those were his jam. And my mom was a passionate music lover, but I'm gonna say it like, she loved she loved the top 40. She loved the radio hits. You know, she wasn't really big on like the deep cuts or, you know, the artistry, but like if it was a good hook, good beat, if it made you feel something, she was all about it. So I think that's kind of where I got my love for a little bit of, that's where it started stemming from. It wasn't until probably 98, 99. That was right when Korn's Follow the Leader came out, 98. And my cousins, I mean, I've, you know, I'm from a Mexican family, so a lot of cousins. And one of my older cousins had the CD, and he was actually playing the secret track, you know. So for all you kids out there, there used to be hidden tracks on these albums. And the hidden track was a cover song from like Cheech and Chong or something like that. And he used to always sing this song. He used to always sing the lyrics. And I would always like kind of laugh because they sounded goofy. And then he actually showed me the song. And this was the first time I actually heard a song that heavy, like that intense. Like I'd like my brain couldn't, you know, because I mean, I'm used to hearing Backstreet Boys and all this other shit. So it's the first hearing something heavy. And I'm like, what is this? It's heavier than anything my dad ever played. So, you know, like I didn't know what to make of it. So it was this whole new, fresh, exciting thing for me. So naturally, I gravitated towards that. I begged my mom for the CD when I on my 9th birthday, which is insane because, you know, it's anyone who knows that album knows it's not an album for kids, but the 90s, man. Thankfully, they you know, they bought it for me. And really, I don't know. I don't know what their thoughts were with all that, but I mean, dude, that after that, man, that's when everything changed, man. I was just a huge fan of like heavy metal. And then maybe about a year or two later, at a flea market in San Antonio, I discovered a home video, like a VHS tape of Korn, Who Then Now. It was like their first home video. And it had like all their first, like their music videos from their first record, some live footage, them, you know, on tour, at the studio, just bullshitting, just joking around. And it looked like the most absolute fun I've ever seen in my life. And I was like, that's what I want to do. Just seeing those guys just like drinking beer and spitting sunflower seeds and laughing. And then it cuts to a scene of them just playing on a stage and just seas of people just going ape shit. I was like, that's what I want to fucking do, man. Like that sealed it for me, man. So like ever since then, man, that's always been, that's where the dream came from. So yeah, man. And I mean, you know, over the years, just, you know, like most people who love music, you know, it becomes a form of therapy. And then once you start writing music, you start putting that into, you know, what you're writing, and it just becomes even more deeper and even more powerful. So, you know, here I am, you know,
cool.
Now.
Yeah, that's a great answer. That's a great answer to that question.
Thanks, man.
I guess, like, you know, one last thing, and then of course I'll give you a chance to, if you want to give a shout out or if you have anything else you want to add. Let's say, you know, we finish our interview and you go inside or whatever and you turn on music. What are you listening to currently? What would what would I hear at your house or in your car or?
Oh man, I'm terrible about listening to new stuff. I mean, unless it's one of my favorite bands, I'm really bad about checking out new stuff. I mean, it just depends on what context it comes in. As far as like new material, the new Kitty album is so damn good. I'm still like in awe of that one. I'm a huge fan of Kitty. I have been since, you know, since I was a child. You know, I remember seeing them on TV a long time ago and just like, holy shit, like that was crazy. But the new Kitty album is definitely one album I'm really into. There's a couple of new bands. I mean, see, that's the thing too, is that I am into like discovering bands, but a lot of the bands that I discover is kind of like just through networking. You know, actually this band right here, I don't know if you can see, but Shadow of F. They're one of my dearest friends. Those guys are phenomenal players. They're kind of those bands, again, that have like a lot of different styles, a couple of different genres. It's like Baroness meets Tool meets Acid Bath. It's all these crazy different types of influences, man. But I'm really big into those guys. Sunset Gore. It's another one of the guys that I'm, you know, one of the other groups I'm friends with. But I'm just genuinely a huge fan of them. They just put out a new record a couple of months ago. So if anyone's listening, definitely go check that one out too. Carmelo.
maybe you could let these guys know about the, Long Island Nightlight and tell them to send me stuff.
Speaking of which, I remember you saying that like you were looking for bands, dude. I got you on bands. If you're looking for some new recommendations, I've got some.
Yes, I'm always looking for music.
Absolutely, I will definitely send you. I'll definitely send you some links, man. There's a lot of great bands I can definitely direct your way.
I appreciate that.
Yeah, man, of course. Yeah, and that's the thing too is that we got really lucky when we started this because bands like Via Novus and Demon Scar, those guys really went to bat for us. Those guys like put us on their playlist, promoted us. I think a lot of the fan base that we have is because of those guys. So in honor of keeping that sort of same spirit, anytime we can, spread the love and get new people into other bands that we're fans of, man, I'm all for that. So yeah, man, I'm always up for pushing, my brothers and sisters like that. I'm definitely excited for that.
Yeah. Well, listen, dude, I appreciate you coming and chatting, coming on and chatting with me for a while and, talking about your music and the inspiration behind your music and all that. What I'm going to try to do, if I can schedule it, is, I'm going to have your interview aired, and I want to just try to follow that up with your 2 songs that I have in the library. I think that would be pretty cool because we've been talking about it, and then, we'll just hit folks with that right when our interview concludes. So
that'd be great.
I'll see if I can make that happen. But I wish you guys well, with the completion of the new album. And, like I said, your music is always, always welcome over here. You have ears in Long Island, at all times. Just, before you go, I don't know if there's any, anything you want to add or shout out to anybody or anything like that. So
shout out to everyone who's still listening to us. The fact that we're still, this far in, and again, like if you're not playing live shows, if you don't have a strong social media presence, it's really hard to keep people interested. And I don't know, maybe that's more of a testament to the music as well, but I'm just so grateful that we still have people listening to us. So if anyone out there who's ever shared a song, referred us to somebody else, worn one of our shirts, bought any of our merch, listening to this right now, thank you. We love you all, and we really hope that.
All right, so once again, that's Sin, S-I-N, Seer, S-E-E-R. And folks, there's no excuse not to be able to find them because they are everywhere. Okay, so anywhere, social media, anywhere that there's music, you can find this group. All right, Trey, thank you very much for your time. And like I said, let me know if you guys have something to promote, something that you want to play, whatever. Just get in touch, and I'd be happy to do that for you.
Absolutely, man. We'll be in touch for no doubt for sure.
Okay. All right, brother. I'll talk to you soon.
Thank you, man.
Take care.